how happy are you guys that you flood my comment sections wishing horrible things to happen on me? And I'm like, so you're not really proving my point that I think any of you are happy.
It doesn't make sense to
My job is to
regardless.
give opinions for a living. It's an opinion. If you were
Of
truly
course
happy,
it is.
you wouldn't be so triggered. But you took it
Well,
extremely personal. I'm like, sweetie, I'm not talking to you. It's an opinion. I give them for a living. I have a job.
but then why don't you like it that other people give you opinions in your comments?
No, it's funny because it's like you're clearly triggered.
So, guys, we got to talk about this because this is becoming a big issue. Conservatives have been completely infiltrated by feminists. There are a bunch of women that are coming in and getting these jobs as talking heads, claiming to be conservatives, but all of their talking points are feminist. Anytime they talk about womanhood, they downplay the role of the mother. They tell young women that they should prioritize their careers over family. And they use the feminist fear-mongering talking points telling young women also that they should prioritize their careers because if they go and get married, their husband's going to leave them, which we know statistically speaking, 72% of the time is actually the women that are leaving their marriages and filing for divorce. And so these feminist women have come in and they're masquerading as conservatives. And my question is, if you're not conserving the traditional nuclear family, what exactly are you conserving? I've seen some clips of this conversation, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. You got some of these conservative feminists having conversations with actual traditional wives.
That would be Melanie Mack, Emily Wilson, and Savannah Stone. Ladies, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
So my friend Tommy Lauren has gone viral for talking about this problem and placing the blame at the feet of stay-at-home boys.
Of
Leave
course.
it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness
Oh,
and
yeah, I've seen
social
this.
awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. They did much the same thing with quiet quitting, where you can go to work and do less, and if you call it quiet quitting, it's somehow better. But Laura, I gotta tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know, that's a big
Declining birth rate, says the woman that's 33 who chose not to have kids and still doesn't have kids. Yeah, she's conservative. The declining birth rates are because guys are choosing to stay at home. It's not because women are choosing not to have children like she is at 33 years old with no kids. It's because men are staying at home. That's the problem.
They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim.
Pickings are slim. It's all the boys' fault. It's not the girls' fault. Emily, what say you?
No, I'm with her on this. I'm not saying that there's not blame across the board. I don't even think it's a men hating women, women hating men. I think it's everyone hating each other problem right now because I see it women against women, men against men. But she's right. I mean, I live in Beverly Hills. Most of the men around here come from money. They're complete mommy's boys. They stay at home until they're literally in their late 30s. And there's guys who walk around and they're TikTokers.
You live in Beverly Hills. That's like me moving to Africa and going, why are all these black people here?
She makes a lot of good points. I agree with everything she's saying. I don't ever put 100% blame on, but yeah, she's right. Men are also becoming a bit feminine.
Okay, so if you had to place the blame, not you say it's not 100%. Is it 90-10, 75-25?
But I think it's 50-50.
50-50. Okay, so then then it's not primarily the boys, it's the girls and the boys. Savannah?
Yeah.
You know, I would say both, but I have a little bit of a different perspective because I live in the South. So
Right.
most men are very masculine, they're manly, they go hunting, they provide for women. And I would say where I live, it's actually mainly the women, and I'm going to contribute that to modern feminism. Just the fact that they don't want to be traditional, they don't want to live this traditional life, but the men are looking for that. But they're struggling to find traditional women because modern feminism has told women that their career is more important than having a family.
Right.
Okay, so you're placing the blame more at the girls' feet.
Yes.
Okay, all right, Melanie?
I think it's 50-50. I do think it's a society problem, but I also have to say that if you live, so I live in Texas, and here in Texas, there's not this stay-at-home mommy boy
Yeah, we
epidemic
don't have that
going on
problem.
for the most
Yeah.
part, at least in the Bible Belt where I'm at. Men are masculine, they're working hard, and the women are feminine out here for the most part. So I think if you really want to get away from all of that, all of these, everybody want to be a TikToker, everybody want to be a Kardashian, because this is on both sides, then move somewhere that has good biblical values.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a great point, but now we're at 50-50. So it's not even 50.001 to 49.999. You're saying it's exactly 50. You don't None of you want to place the blame at the girls or the boys' feet. Okay, fair enough. Very diplomatic, very nice, very complimentary, and very trad in many ways. But then how do you fix it? If you got the boys acting like girly men and you've got the girls acting sort of vacuous and promiscuous, then how are the two going to meet?
I think you only fix this with God. You only fix this with biblical values. I think the reason why society has gone so chaotic like this, a huge reason why, is because people have and society has steered away from these values. They normalized hookup culture, which is not good. This is why a lot of the youth aren't dating anymore, because that's not healthy at all.
Yeah, young men don't want to work hard and be responsible to protect and provide for women who are hoes, especially hoes that don't prioritize family. Why would any man want to be with a woman that doesn't prioritize giving him a family first and foremost? So you want him to prioritize you while you prioritize yourself also by chasing your career. Yeah, if you want men to be responsible, give them something to be responsible for. And men don't want to be responsible for hoes, and men don't want to be responsible for women that won't even give them a family. That's silly.
And then you've also got a very selfish culture. Everybody wants to feel like they're the prize. And the problem with feeling like you're the prize when you're seeking a relationship is you're looking for a servant instead of an equal partnership where you're both putting in 100%.
So what's the practical advice? I mean, at least to the men. You know, maybe I could give practical advice to women, but what would you say to the men who are stay-at-home boys who can't get a girlfriend? What say you, Emily?
So get a job, move out. You don't need to be online. I don't think online is necessarily a place for men. I think it's a very feminine thing to do. And I just think men need to have, I mean, this is like a rabbit hole because obviously, yeah, we've like neglected men, which, some people can agree with, some people don't. But I just think, yeah, it's a big thing. It's going to be where they're raised, what they're raised by, what religion, what culture, what they're around. I mean, there's so many factors to it. There's literally no black and white answer. And if there was, we'd already have it figured out by now. But obviously, there is going to be some aspect of embracing normal traditional gender roles. So it's like, yeah, I think maybe if men were out and working and not on TikTok, things would be a little bit better. But I don't know. I don't have a definite answer for any of these things. It's also culture. Things have changed. Also, it's so expensive out here. Most men are like, it would be insane to be like, how am I going to be a provider? You have to make millions and you still feel like you're at the poverty line out here.
Yeah, so there it is. Men are supposed to get up, go to work, and be responsible. And I agree with that, but what do they get in return? Men are incentive-based beings. If they're going to work hard for something, they need to be getting something for it. Nobody goes to work if they don't get a paycheck. So what do these big, strong, hardworking men get in return? Many of them are looking at the dating market and they're going, I might get a woman who slept with 15 men before me. Statistically speaking, she's going to be obese. The average age for marriage is 30 years old and the average age for the first child is like 28 years old. So by the time the woman even wants to start having kids, you might get 1 or 2 kids, maybe. And even if you do everything right, if at any moment, because she has this extensive past, if she ever feels like she just wants to leave the marriage because she's unhappy, she could take 50% of everything you've worked for. The biggest part that nobody wants to talk about, because it's going to offend women and you're going to sound like a misogynist, or at least that's what they're going to call you if you say this, is if you want men to work hard and become responsible, they're incentive-based beings, so you have to then tell women to not be promiscuous, you have to take away no-fault divorce, and you have to have more women prioritizing family in their fertile years, because why would a man prioritize family if the woman only prioritizes herself? And nobody wants to say that, because telling women that they can't do every Tom, Dick, and Harry is misogynistic, I guess now.
Really true. I haven't dated since before dating apps existed, actually, believe it or not, because I married my high school sweetheart. And so I like just missed it, and I didn't have to deal with a lot of modern dating, even in my single years. So what do you do? Like, if you go out on a date with a guy, you say things have changed, it's hard out there, you got to be a zillionaire to get a wife. First date, does the guy pay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Every date.
Yes.
Every date.
Yes.
Okay. Does the guy open the door for the girl?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Does the guy expect any improper behavior that really should only exist between a husband and a wife?
No.
Of course, out here.
Yeah.
They shouldn't.
Hold on, wait. Is that of course yes or of course no?
They shouldn't.
Of course, yes.
They do expect it. Is that good? It should they expect it or they should not?
Whatever. I mean, I'm not going to demonize them. It's what most people do. So it is what it is.
But
Not
do you think,
promoting
I
it.
guess that's kind of getting to the point here, I think, because if the critique from the women is these men aren't acting like men, and they're not being chivalrous, and they're not, treating me like the sweet angel that I am. And then the critique from the men is, well, these girls are not behaving like dignified, modest women. They're on OnlyFans and they're, promiscuous or whatever. You can see how both sides got to that place.
A big part of the problem is from a young age, men are taught what they should give and do for women, while women are only taught what they should expect from men. It's because young women are taught what they should expect from men as entitlements, and men should just do these things because they're men, but they're never told that they have to act in a certain way to get a man that's willing to do those things for them. They're just told they can behave however they want, and then a man is just going to drop out of the sky and take care of all of their problems.
But then don't we need to raise the expectations and say, no, ladies, be modest. Men, don't be Casanovas.
Yeah, you got to raise it on both ends, though, which is very difficult because you also have to get women and men to both admit that they were slightly wrong, which no one wants to do because right now all we do is pin each other against each other. Oh, no, all the women, they're all on OnlyFans and they're all hoeing it out constantly. Oh, all the men, they're just, feminine TikTokers. Like, you got to get to a middle ground. Like, yeah, is it great for every woman out here to be on OnlyFans? No, it's a little crazy because, look, it is kind of sex work. It's kind of prostitution.
Oh, it
Kinda.
absolutely
I'd say
is.
more than kind of. Yeah.
This is a conservative woman, by the way. OnlyFans is kind of prostitution.
It is 100% prostitution.
Yeah. But also, when you have all these men that just go through women because they have unlimited options, and this is what most girls are, and they're like, yeah, I want a good girl. But then they say they want a good girl, then they meet the good girl, and they cheat on them anyway. So it's just like, it's a very difficult thing that's going to take a long time to try to figure out, honestly.
And that's another part of the problem. Women look at a small minority of men, and then they assume all men get the benefits of the small minority of men that I see because those are the men that I want. They'll go, men have all of these options, and they're sleeping with all of these women and just casting them aside. No, that just speaks to volumes the men that you're dating. Most men don't even have options, but women only see the men that they want. So from their perspective, men as a whole are just sleeping with all these different women, and it's because they're dating all of the same men. They don't even see the guy who gets no attention, that goes to his factory job. He hasn't gotten a compliment in the past 7 years, and nobody ever tells him that they appreciate him. They don't even understand that perspective because that's not something they have to deal with. They only see the men that they want, and then they assume that every man lives the life of the man that they're competing for. The strangest part about all of this is that every woman knows a man that would give them everything that they say that they want. They just don't want that man. And when the man that they want doesn't want them or doesn't give them what they want, they blame it on all men.
Because there's something that's been delightful to me that's cropped up because I'm a little more, not totally libertarian, I'm a little more traditionalist. I go to the traditional Latin mass. So when this phrase trad life popped up, I thought, let's go, baby. I'm like the hipster of the trad life. I've been doing it since before it was cool. But this creates caricatures. This creates, some people, they take it a little too far. I sometimes tell women that if they want to date at the traditional Latin mass, the odds are good, but the goods are odd. They're a little weird out there. So, Emily, you went viral for critiquing the trad life.
I'm sorry, I hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this trad wife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stopping working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day, slim to none. I would say
sounds
none,
very conservative.
That's gonna work out for you or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure because it could not be easier if that's what you're going to pursue to be trapped by a man.
Oh, trapped.
Okay?
Huh.
Also, let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this. And also, by the way, it's cringe.
And that's the bigger part of the issue, and that's the feminism seeping out. Women who go work at jobs assume that they're more important than women that are doing the most important job in the world. And they also assume that they're smarter, and they oftentimes talk down to these women. A traditional woman isn't only contributing sour bread to the relationship, trust me. She thinks that it's mentally stimulating to hear a woman complain about her job for 3 hours straight every day after work. The only time I see people talking down on motherhood and the importance of motherhood is actually feminists. I've never seen men talk down on a traditional woman, ever. And because feminists only value women when they're attempting to behave masculine, they're actually bowing to the importance of masculinity. I genuinely believe that feminists are the biggest misogynists in the world now. I've never seen anybody talk down on a mother like feminists do.
Okay, so Emily says trad life is BS. Savannah, what say you?
So I actually don't like the buzzword trad wife because again, I think it's a buzzword in culture and there's a lot of things tied to it. But
Yeah,
I would have
when
to
I was a kid, we just
disagree.
called them wives.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
what we do.
Yeah,
call
and
them.
now, I would say stay-at-home wife would probably be the proper term for it. But I would have to disagree. I think that there's a very narrow perspective that when you are a wife who doesn't make her own income and the man is providing, that you are trapped by a man. I mean, I will post things about my husband providing for me, and they're like, "Wait till he leaves you in 20 years and goes and finds a younger girl."
That's the
And leaves
feminist.
you with absolutely nothing. And the truth of the matter is that doesn't really happen, right? Like 70 to 80% of divorces are filed by women who were unhappy or just bored. It really doesn't happen where the man just leaves you with absolutely nothing. I think too, like my marriage personally, Christ is at the center of our marriage. And if you don't have that foundation, then of course it's going to fall apart. Of course there's going to be infidelity. Of course you're going to be looking elsewhere because you don't have that foundation. And couples that pray together stay together. Like we pray every single night and Christ is at the center and we're going to church together. And we did that from the beginning of our relationship all the way up until now. So I think bringing Christ back into the marriage is really important. And of course, that's where the traditional roles come in. I believe that when you are going 50-50, which is like this new progressive marriage, that it causes a lot of competition and there's actually not any contribution, that the man and the woman are just competing with each other because they're both waking up at 6 a.m. They're rushing to get ready. They're going to their 9 to 5. They come home. They're absolutely exhausted.
But the issue is it's not actually 50-50. The women are still expecting the men to pay majority of everything. The women are just going to work to prioritize themselves. It's never actually 50-50. People keep saying this as a talking point, but the women expect the men to pay for dates. They expect for them to still pay majority of the bills, yet they're coming home from work tired and then still expecting the men to now contribute 50% of the domestic labor. And I've seen studies by MSNBC in 2025 that says in modernity, now, currently, more men are doing domestic labor than women. And I always laugh at that statistic because men still have their traditional roles in terms of protecting and providing, but now they're expected to do 50% of the domestic labor because the woman's going to work, she's coming home tired and complaining. So the men are doing more than ever and they're still divorced at the highest rates than ever. It's because they're suckers. I'm sorry, even if we both go to work, if I'm paying majority of the bills, you're doing majority of the domestic labor. It's that simple.
They eat a quick dinner, scroll on their phones, go to bed, repeat the same cycle over and over again. And it's not working out. And you've seen the divorce rates go up and you've seen the birth rates plummet. And so bringing tradition back in, and I'm not saying we all have to be in 1950s gowns and cooking it from scratch.
Wouldn't be the worst idea, but okay, sure, you don't have to. All right.
No, it would be great. It would be great. But I think that bringing back the idea of the husband being the head of the household and the woman being his help, like it was in the Bible, like it literally says in the Bible, would help a lot of marriages.
Emily, does that do anything for you?
No, I stand on everything I said.
Of course.
You know what
She's
the
a
funniest
feminist.
part about my video was? I mean, that's literally just common sense. You can't even argue with any of it. There's statistical data on my side for every single thing I said. Especially if you're getting married super young, the odds of that working out. The difference is I pray it does work out for everyone, but also I'm just looking at things from a perspective. But it's funny because I was like, I must have triggered something in all these housewives because I was like, how happy are you guys that you flood my comment sections wishing horrible things to happen on me? And I'm like, so you're not really proving my point that I think any of you are happy. And yes, not even just the fact of divorce. Divorce is what, probably 50% of this country, potentially more.
It's a little less, but yeah, it's high.
Yeah, it's high. People lose their jobs. People die. People get sick. There's a lot of factors to that. It's also like, I don't understand these women who claim to be so happy that are, telling me to kill myself online because I have an opinion, which is what I do for a living. I'm like, I promote women can have it all. I work full time. I also cook.
Feminist.
I also clean.
She's a feminist.
I do everything.
But you don't have any children. Also, everybody gets hate online. That's the whole point. If there isn't somebody climbing into your window, you're fine. These women aren't upset because they're miserable. These women are upset because they're conservative women who have been shit on by feminists for the past 50 years, and they're sick of women doing that. And now you are calling yourself a conservative, and you're supposed to be conserving the nuclear family and saying how important their job is, and you're trying to fearmonger them and talk down to them as if you're superior because you have a job. They see you as a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's probably why.
It's not something to be put down, which is the problem with these trad wives are hating on women that work. And it's like, we're not forcing you to work. I like working. It makes me happy. So I'm like, do you? But this pressing this life on everyone, it's not for everyone. And it's also not going to work out for everyone. And that's just life. So
Yeah, Savannah, why are you trying to force your views on Emily, huh?
I don't force my views on anyone. Listen, all of my girlfriends have jobs or they're in university, and we get along and they respect my lifestyle and I respect their lifestyle. Do I think women with children who are married are happier? Yes, there are statistics that show that. But we live in a world where I'm not going to tell women what to do. They can go to work, they can do whatever they want, they can be on OnlyFans. But do I think that they're happier when they have a man providing for them and they have children? Yes, because it's just our primal nature.
But then you said I was bitter. How am I bitter? Because I work, I cook, I clean, and my man fully takes care of me, and I have my own money to take care of myself. So it's
because there would be no reason to go online and bash women who do have that lifestyle unless you were bitter about it. It doesn't make sense to.
My job
regardless.
is to give opinions for a living. It's an opinion. If you were truly happy, you wouldn't be so triggered. But you took it extremely personal. I'm like, sweetie, I'm not talking to you. It's an opinion. I give them for a living. I have a job.
But then why don't you like it that other people give you opinions in your comments?
No, it's funny because it's like you're clearly triggered. As if you're that happy, you wouldn't be bothered. And she thinks
they look
I'm, like,
triggered. Who looks triggered here?
No, I'm talking about all the young girls online that are literally promoting this, and then ironically doing it as a job to grift and make money as well, which is so funny because it all comes full circle.
No, she was obviously not talking about the women that are online. She was talking about traditional women that are in marriages with their husbands and downplaying them making sourdough for their families and saying that men want something that's more mentally stimulating, and that's her because she has a big girl boss job. She's trying to make it seem like she was only talking about the women who are content creators that promote the trad wife lifestyle, but that isn't who she was talking to. She was obviously talking to women who chose to be in a marriage and prioritize family during their fertile years instead of their career, obviously in that video. And now she's just trying to backtrack to save face.
There is some of that. I do agree. I think that from my perspective, yeah, encouraging girls who are single and who aren't married, and even if they want that trad lifestyle, go ahead and do something with yourself in the meantime. Set yourself up so that, hey, if that trad life that you want doesn't come to be, because right now we do live in especially a very godless society, and a lot of traditional values come from the Bible. So if you're just going to sit and live with mom and dad all your life until Prince Charming comes and saves you and gives you that trad life, that may not happen. So go ahead, get a job, have a plan for yourself if it comes down to it. But to say that the trad life is cringe or anything like that, I completely disagree.
No, the fake trad life that they promote online.
The fake one, yeah.
These girls that sit at home and are like, I did nothing today and I'm taken care of and I'm happy. Oh my God, literally, I want to be like, get a job. Like, sorry, it's cringe and it's gross. And it's so funny. I'm like, why are you out here promoting trad life 24/7 dying on this hill when half of these chicks aren't even married or have kids? I'm like, go get those babies popped out. Go live that life. You're dying on that hill online. I'm just calling it out.
What about this point? So you made a point there, because I see a lot of it. I see the criticism, which is, if you're a trad life influencer and, your life is mostly like on camera, it's hard for that to be trad. It's hard to be trad on TikTok, right? Trad involves, you're kind of more focused on the private life and the home and the kids and the bread, which is great. And it's all fabulous. But I see there's a little bit of a tension there. But to Savannah's point, most divorces are initiated by women. So it's not that some women aren't passed up for the secretary. That does happen, but that's relatively minor. It more seems to be impelled by feminism and by women's choices. And on the notion of having it all, at a certain point, you can't have it all. If you're at work 8 hours a day at the widget factory doing the spreadsheets, those are 8 hours that you're not going to be with your kids, or baking bread, or dusting the bookshelves, or whatever it is. So I grant that women can have lots of different goods in their lives, but sometimes there is a decision you have to make. And I think the question that's being raised here by Melanie and Savannah is it better, is it more conducive to women's happiness to put on the Victorian era gown
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what makes women happy. It doesn't matter what benefits women's happiness. When you have kids and you have a family, it's not about you. It's about your family. It's about what's better for your kids. We need to stop structuring this conversation from the lens of female happiness. The fact that companies have convinced women that they're going to find more fulfillment being a manager at Burger King than being a mother is crazy to me.
You can wear modern clothes, but have the kids, get married, bake the bread, do the house stuff. Or is it more conducive to women's happiness to go out and work at a corporation and have a career?
My answers do both.
But how can you do?
There's
Meaning,
gonna be
if you're going to do the
sacrifices.
one, you're going to spend just in what would be your work day, 8 hours a day with the kids. Kids aren't going to be with the nanny. They're going to be with mama, and mama's going to be making breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're going to be giving them piano lessons or whatever. That's one kind of thing. Or you could be doing spreadsheets at the widget factory or whatever the job is. But, there are only 24 hours in a day. At a certain point, you're going to have, when you have to make a decision, am I going to spend my time doing this or that? Which is better?
I don't believe in this choosing thing. We live in a modern day society. There's so many factors to this. It's not just this whole thing of trad wives. Oh, the corporate slave. First of all, I've loved most of my careers, and most of them weren't 8-hour days, Monday through Friday. These women can have jobs and still be at home and still be with the children. Also, a lot of women have kids, and I hate to say it, are not fully fulfilled by that and are like, dude, I need to go back to work. I need to be around adults. Like, sorry, that's a real thing. A lot of my friends are married. A lot of them have kids. So it's just like, I think this whole thing, instead of constantly being like, you have to pick. Also, a lot of these women make content and have full-time jobs as they have careers. And especially a lot of those women are the top women in right-wing media, which is so funny watching these young girls hate on these women. Meanwhile, I'm like, those are the women you would die to achieve to have that type of lifestyle.
Yeah, she's talking about a very small minority of women who work in media who can work 4 hours a day and still get an income. She's not talking about women who actually work regular jobs. And again, it's not an issue if a woman works a regular job. To me, I think that's pretty normal, especially in this economy. But it is an issue if she isn't prioritizing or contributing some of that money towards the family.
I'm not going to sit here and hate on Ingram, Kelly, all these women, Allie Bestucky, all these women. They have full-time jobs.
Oh, there
and
goes
they
the
also
clapping.
Are able to be moms and take care of their kids. I doubt all those women are horrible mothers. But that's the thing. I'm not going to tell women they have to choose. You can do both. You can make it work. And the more money you have, the more opportunities, and you're going to have ways to help. Maybe then I can go hire someone to cook or to clean and spend more time.
No, I know
with
you can.
kids.
That's what you have to do. And I agree. It is kind of funny. If you are on TV every day for a living, by definition, you're not living the most traditional lifestyle. There are a lot of perks to it and a lot of good things. But yes, of course, I totally grant that. But I think you're evading the question, because the point you've just made is, look, I can hire a nanny, I can hire a chef, I can take the money. Yeah, I know. That's one kind of life. But when you say you can have it all, that it violates Aristotle's law of non-contradiction, because in the two choices two ways of life that I'm presenting at least are, you're at home, you don't have a job. You have a lot of jobs, but you don't have a career. Your life is in the private sphere. The other version is your life is in the public sphere, but you get to do a lot of fun, like wife, mom stuff too. But I'm saying those are separate things. Savannah or Melanie, do you have thoughts on if one is better than the other, or are we all just going to be like modern people and not make a decision?
I think if you're actually looking at children and upbringing, and obviously my mom was a trad wife. She still is. She raised my brothers and I. She stayed at home and homeschooled us while my dad provided for the family. And there's no way that she could have had a full-time job and homeschool us and take care of the home and do all the cooking and all of that stuff. So for that, I'm very grateful, because especially when you get on the subject of public schools in general, their indoctrination systems. And also it's hard for kids to really be kids when they're at such a young age having their 9 to 5 already in the school system. So the fact that my mom dedicated her time into homeschooling my brothers and I'm so grateful for that. And so, not to say that every kid that's in public school doesn't have a good mom and all that, but I think in an ideal scenario for children, a mom would stay home and raise them.
Hold on. I have a lot more pearls of wisdom. First, though, go to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S.
All right, Knowles.
You've heard me talk about Balance of Nature many times before. That's because Balance of Nature fruits and veggies is the most convenient way to get whole fruits and vegetables daily, especially if you're focused on creating a healthier, happier lifestyle. Nature's pretty good at giving us the nutrients we need through our fruits and vegetables. So Balance of Nature takes fruits and veggies, freeze dries them, turns them into a powder, and puts them into a capsule. You take your fruit and veggie capsules every day, and then your body knows what to do with them. Oh. Balance of Nature is just one ingredient of a balanced lifestyle, has no intention to replace a healthy diet, exercise, sleep, or any other healthy habits. It is intended to be used in concert with other healthy habits, especially for me, someone who's on the road a lot. When sweet little Lisa isn't making me my fruits and veggies, it's nice to have a way to, make sure I get them on the go. I don't just collapse from ill health. Go to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Plus, get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That is balanceofnature.com.
Yeah, I'm going to keep
promo
this
code
in.
K-N-O-W-L-E-S.
I'm using his content. I'll let
My
him
mom
get
works
the
from
ads
home.
off.
She was a settlement consultant, so she only worked when she had a case come to her. But she sacrificed a lot of work when she had us as kids, and she was able to basically be a stay-at-home mom who took maybe like 2 conference calls a month. So she could have made a lot more money than she did, but she sacrificed that to raise us as kids. So I don't think that you can have it all, because having it all would be her making as much money as she can with work, being very successful in her career, and also having successful children. But you have to
you can't
sacrifice one.
bilocate.
Like
you can't be in 2 places simultaneously.
Yeah, no,
Right.
no. And I mean, she took us to school every day. She picked us up. She was at all of our games. She was at all of our events. And I would not trade that for the world. And that was a good example to me, because when I have kids, I want to be at everything. Like I want to watch them grow up. I don't want somebody else raising my children, or even my parents raising my children, because they
that
have
makes
to
sense.
watch them. So I think I had a great example of that growing up. But even my mom would tell you, like, no, I had to sacrifice a lot of money and a lot of my career to raise children, but she'll tell you it was 100% worth it.
You know, my wife, she's done both. Sweet little Lisa she's a real trad wife. She bakes the bread, she makes the pasta, she does all the stuff, takes the kids out. But she has a PhD. She's had a career. She has a doctorate. I have an honorary doctorate. I'm just the arm candy, really. But she's done that, and she quit her job. And she quit her job because we've been spitting out enough kids that it got to the point where she was going to have to make real choices.
Yeah.
Hire more child care, spend less time with the kids, or quit the job. But it finally had come down to it, and you have to make a choice. And she chose the trad life, the trad wife life. But she did have Emily's caveat there, which is that a lot of these moms who decide, okay, I'm going to stay home, I want to be with the kids more, I don't want to, they still want some money, or they still want some kind of outside intellectual activity. So they'll make content. They'll like make they'll post on Instagram, and so it is this little bit of a kind of trying to have it all sort of thing. But my question, I guess maybe I'm more authoritarian than anyone on the panel. I don't know. I haven't heard you weigh in on this, Melanie. But I do not have the view, as you suggested, Savannah, that look, a woman, if she wants to do whatever she wants, that's fine. She can go on OnlyFans, or I don't know. I don't. It should not. That OnlyFans should be banned. The operators should be arrested and shipped off to St. Helena, So I think we should put lots of limits on all this stuff. And the question that I have is we're trying to bridge the divide between the sexes so that people can have good lives. What is best for these people? We have no problem saying that it is better for the boy to get out of his mother's basement. It is better for the boy to go out, get a job, not be a stay-at-home son or whatever. It's better for him. He should.
Right.
But then when it comes to women, we say, well, they can do whatever they want.
Right.
Maybe this is better, but maybe it's not. Maybe this. But I want shoulds. I want you to tell women what to do. What is best for the women? Emily?
I think men should go out and work. I think
women
should also educate themselves. I think they should find a job that makes them happy. We don't all have to pretend like every job is slave labor. I've had many careers. I've been happy in all of them. I think women should have something that's theirs on their own.
The vast majority of people do not have jobs that make them happy. The vast majority of people are just doing what's necessary. That's in and of itself a pipe dream. Most people, the vast majority of people, damn near everybody, I dare say, does not work a job that makes them happy.
I also think it gives you more options. It makes you, in my opinion, because I give those for a living, more valuable and better off And when they find someone, if they choose to become a stay-at-home trad wife, whatever BS they call it online now, then that's fantastic. If they want to have hobbies, if they want to work a little, if they want to quit their jobs, whatever's best for them that makes them happy and the children, that's great. I support all of that.
Okay, now, so then the question, of course, this begs the question, which is what makes people happy, which is where we stay. What is actually conducive to happiness? Modernity tells you a lot of things are going to make you happy and they don't. But then I see in your answer, Emily, a lot of they should have choice. They should have something on their own, something independent. But I am skeptical of that, okay? I don't have a lot of choices. I mean, I do, and I get to do whatever I want. I don't even have a real job. I just do, this is my job. Is this even a job? But I don't have a lot of choices. I am married. I got to be home at a certain time.
Yep.
Most nights. I got to do stuff.
Yep.
I've got to make some money because I've got to pay certain bills. I don't accept divorce under any circumstances. I don't have a prenuptial agreement. My wife could take me to the cleaners if she wanted to.
Which is insane.
I don't have choice. I don't have things that are really independent from my wife. We don't have separate personal bank accounts or anything. We don't have separate anything really. We sleep in the same bed. So my question then is it really good? I know modernity says it's good to be independent and have choices and endless options and whatever. Does that really make you happy, Melanie?
I honestly don't even like the phrase "do what makes you happy." I think you need a foundation, and that foundation is the Bible instead of subjective morality. We're not always going to have the opportunity to do what makes us happy because
Right.
what makes us happy at all times isn't necessarily right. We need to do the right thing. And the Bible has a strong foundation for how men should behave, what men should do, and women. So we can't just live life based on you do you. Let's have this subjective morality because things just go crazy. You got pride parades, you got kids being mutilated, like things just spiral out of control. So do what's right, follow the Bible.
That's a pretty straight answer. So Emily's answer is do the things that make you happy, as follow your bliss. Yours is follow the Bible, even if you think it might not make you happy, it will in the long run.
Yes.
Savannah, what should women do?
I think the word choice is very overglorified in our society. Like choice is so sexy. We love having choice. I would agree with you, Michael. In my marriage, I will not leave my husband under any circumstance. We follow the Bible. We're loyal to each other. He's the head of the household, so he makes the decisions in our family. And I'm actually happier that way. I mean, I'm very young. I got married at 18, but before then I was given all these choices like, oh, well, you could move here and go get a degree here, go get a job here. And that was overwhelming. That was actually more depressing
Right.
than living in a marriage that is a unit, and where in which you don't have a ton of choices and you don't have a ton of freedom, quote unquote. And so if you watch my content, you know that I usually say you should do this, you ought to do this, because statistically speaking, married women with children are happier.
There is a paradox of choice where when you have too many options, you'll just choose to not choose anything. So there is a level of paradox of choice that can be an issue. And I genuinely believe in a time where when your dad was a baker, your last name was Baker, and you just became a baker, I think things were simpler because people had their lives already outlined for them. They go to school for a little bit, then they get an apprenticeship with the guy who was a baker. They learn how to bake really well. They go to different places to learn this thing, and then they would do what their father already did. And I think that was a simpler system that gave people a sense of purpose and a sense of direction that we've kind of thrown away for this whole idea of do whatever makes you happy. I will even take it a step further. I believe that if you can practice nepotism, you should. I believe if your father is a higher up somewhere and he can teach you something about how to get there and he already has connections because he's built that with his own skill, that you should take advantage of that. I know that's an unpopular opinion because people hate people that get opportunities through nepotism, but it's really how the world works. A father goes out and he does things in order to provide opportunities for his kids. And I'm a firm believer that if you don't have direction as a young man and you see your father, or even as a young woman, and you see your father in a certain direction, then you should take advantage of that, and maybe you should at least try it.
But again, I'm going to have to agree with Melanie too, that the Bible is the foundation and Christ is the foundation. Will make you want to do things that are inherently traditional, and that are biblical. So I would say that choice has just gotten so out of hand, and we ought to go back to biblical principles.
All right, now it seems like the divide here is you got Melanie and Savannah are like really pro trad life, Emily, you're being made out to be the liberal feminist here, even though you're pretty conservative,
she's
right?
a
You're
I
pretty,
know.
feminist
It's
pretty
for
funny
much.
because
sure.
everyone says I'm like too far right, which is like, there's no winning, is there?
But do you feel that you are a little more on the liberal or feminist side compared to some of the women who are pushing the trad life?
I mean, textbook definition feminism of wanting men and women to have like equal rights. Yeah, like I would not deny that, of course.
You would call yourself a feminist? Because I don't think, I know people
Okay.
always say feminism means you want men and women to have equal rights. I think that's BS. I think it's
Definitely
an
Well, that's what
ideology.
it's supposed to mean and what it did mean until it got hijacked by everything. Now, if you say you're a feminist, everyone's calling you a liberal and all these different things. It's
But-
all
Well, in what way do men and women not have equal rights? In what way in 2025 do women not have equal rights? If you can't point me to any rights that men do have that women don't have, then there would be no necessity for feminism anymore. And to be honest, I could tell you rights that women have that men don't have. Women have reproductive rights. If they don't want to have kids, they can abort their kids or give them up for adoption, but men don't have that option. If men don't want to be fathers, the government can force them to continue to pay or take them to jail. Women also have the right to vote without having to register for the draft. So when you're saying that you're a feminist because you want equal rights, well, then you'd have to deal with the issue of women having more rights than men at this point.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I'd go back even further. I don't think it ever actually meant that. I think that was a way to sell feminism. But I
Right.
think going back to like Mary Wollstonecraft in the early days of feminism, I think it was just basically a view of human nature that said men and women are pretty much the same. And rather than the classical view of human nature, which is that men and women are different, vive la différence, we're complementary, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but,
Yeah.
we all get together in the solar system. So I think it goes deeper than that. That's one reason why I would never say I'm a feminist, is because I just don't think that's how human nature works. I love women. I think women are marvelous. I am as far from a misogynist as it is possible to be. But I don't think men and women are the same. I think certain things are better for men, certain things are better for women.
No, I think what makes us different are our strengths. I think trying to blend those together is a complete weakness. I think men and women are completely different animals and should be treated differently. So it's like the problem is they're trying to blend these things to be like, oh, we should just be living the same life and doing the same things. Absolutely not. Clearly is not working out as we see that in society. Do I think women should have the right to vote and all these things? Which, yes, all the pick me feminists, they're like, oh my God, women shouldn't even vote. Like, I'm sorry. I think that's embarrassing. I think literally all they're doing is trying to get attention from men, ironically, because most of them are probably unhappy in their marriages and not happy with all the choices they've made. I'm also coming from a different perspective. I'm in a city. I'm also not super religious. I'm very clear about that online.
Oh,
But I'm
what
not
is
going
she
to pretend like I'm a
conserving?
part of this new wave of feminism.
What
I
are we
mean,
talking
being
about?
in one of the bluest places in the country, I live a very ironically traditional and conservative lifestyle. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't go out. We're having dinner, we're cooking, we're with the dogs. We'd like to
Emily,
get married one day. And
my
have kids.
definition of conservatism, you actually have to drink and smoke. It's actually a requirement. I see your point, because sometimes when they say women shouldn't vote, I think, hold on, then we're going to lose all the elections because we get all the only married women should vote. The single women should not vote because they all vote for Democrats. But if you really wanted to embrace the trad life, of course, nobody should vote. But that's a topic for another time.
But that's mischaracterizing the argument. The argument isn't simply women shouldn't have the right to vote. The argument is if women want the right to vote, then they should have to register for the draft just like men do. And if women don't want to register for the draft to vote, then they shouldn't vote, because why should women be able to vote for policies that might send young men to go die in wars if they don't have to also fight the wars? Why should you be able to vote for the direction the country goes, especially if that direction pushes us towards war, if you don't have to fight the war? That's the full argument. Women shouldn't have the right to vote for policies that might send us to wars that they're not willing to fight.
So
That's
much.
what I'm saying. So much of it is so hypocritical. And ironically, a lot of these statements are like literally just from women to like appease men. And like, I'm sorry, I'm just like, I'm not going to get behind that. And they called me a liberal feminist and Tommy Lauren and all these people. And like, look, we're allowed to have different perspectives.
You're not religious, you don't prioritize family, and you talk down on women who do. That doesn't sound very conservative to me. They're making fun of you because you claim to be a conservative, yet you don't conserve anything. And conservative men refuse to stand up to them, because if any man speaks out on women doing whatever they want and saying what women should do, they are considered misogynists. And even conservatives know that if you upset the women, then you're going to lose 50% of the vote. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or L, and give me the HBO special. That's a brother out special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.